Ah, the ID Buzz, modern retro done right, a family-friendly joy machine no less. It's a familiar sight already, but arguably it's only just become the car that it should always have been. A 7-seater. After all, the Buzz is all about sharing moments with people, isn't it? It's about going out, having fun with the family, and it's about the space that that brings. So the 7-seater, well, makes more sense than any of the Buzzes, surely. It's a big family, people moving, having fun machine. However, it's also massive. So this is, well, it's about 25 centimetres longer than the short wheelbase Buzz. So we're talking here about a 5 metre long, 2.2 metre wide including the mirrors, vehicle. It's quite big, but having said that, having a 5 metre long, 2.2 metre wide vehicle hasn't stopped any of those people who are out there buying big family SUVs, has it? Speaking of which, the Kia EV9. Now look, I think if you're looking at the Buzz, which has a WLTP range of 291 miles, by the way, from an 86 kilowatt hour battery, well, I think you might also be considering the EV9. This is the closest thing to the Buzz, really. It's more conventional SUV, of course, but we love the EV9. You can check out our twin test video on this and the Volvo XC90 as well, by the way, because that will give you a really good look at why we love the EV9 so much. It's definitely fantastic, great to drive, hugely practical, it's brilliant. But believe it or not, dare I say, the Kia has a range of 349 miles in the Air version that we've got here, by the way. Well, it actually makes the Buzz look almost good value, which is a bit of a surprise, isn't it? So this, with the 7-seat version, you can get this from just under £59,000. This, from Kia, £64,000 and up. So, has the day come where a Kia is now a more premium proposition than a Volkswagen? And if you're after a really big 7-seat family electric car, which one's best? Right, let's have a look around the big yellow bus. Although peculiarly, Volkswagen calls this colour lime green. I find that really odd. Definitely yellow to my eyes. Anyway, the boot. First of all, you've got to mind out for the enormous barn door of a load bay cover at the back here, the boot lid. But when you're in, you've got a nice canopy to stop the rain getting on you. Right, just over 300 litres of space behind these rearmost seats. So you can actually get, you know, your lightweight buggy, even a cabin bag or two back there. So it's not too bad. The EV9's got a little bit more space, but we'll have a look around that in a minute. It is a shame that there doesn't seem to be any more obvious space to keep your cables. So that kind of hangs about there. That's a bit frustrating. But these do fold quite easily. Job done. There you go. So they fold, and then you can take together, which is quite useful because then you've got an enormous 5-seater. So I think for a lot of people it might actually make more sense, provided you can store these in your garage or whatever, then you can obviously take those out and you've got a huge load bay of over 1,000 litres, over 1,200 litres in fact. So it really is enormous if you take those out. I have to say, that's not too bad, is it? And they are actually not too difficult to get out, look at that. However, they're really quite heavy. So there you go. So that's the Buzz seats. Quite good, isn't it? So I really like the fact that you can take those out. That does seem like a really practical touch. Middle row seats, those fold down as well. So, you know, you do get real van-like space in here. And the middle row of seats, they slide forward and backwards. You've got a really big difference there. So it is very practical. I do like that. And these back seats, here we go. I'll put them back up again. Let's find out what it's like to sit in the back seats. Access to the third row in the Buzz is really great thanks to the huge aperture left by those sliding doors, which are so useful in tight parking spaces, and definitely a big USP over standard SUV alternatives like the EV9. The space that you get back here in the third row of seats in the Buzz is one of the main reasons you'd buy it, I think, because it's really good. So, yeah, I'm a very average size, 5'7", but what's great is that because the seats are raised, as you saw from the boot, because you can take them out, you don't get that thing in the back where your legs are bent up because the floor's really high, so it feels like a proper seat. It's a bit flat, I'll give you that, but I mean, you know, you've got headrest, you've got plenty of back support. It's actually reasonably wide as well, so even when you've got this other seat up, you don't feel too squished up against the other passenger. You've got USB-C charging ports, cup holder. It's really good. You've even got a little armrest here, so it does feel like a proper seat. My only niggle is that there's no air vent back here, which is a bit of a shame because I do think that it probably would warrant it. I would kind of want that for a car of this value. But, you know, it's not a deal breaker. It just would have been nice to see. Other than that, I think that the accommodation back here is really good. The space is just, you can't argue with it really. The middle row of seats have a vast amount of space and they slide in a 60-40 split. There are also picnic tables and a phone pocket, so the kids will be delighted and have even more reason to pester you for snacks, just so that they can use the picnic table. The only downside with the middle seats in the Buzz is that there's no centre armrest. So everything up here is pretty much as it is in the short wheelbase Buzz, and that is a good and a bad thing. So I actually think the material quality is pretty good in here, sort of gloss plastics, fine, bit fingerprinty. You also get the 12.9-inch touchscreen in the middle here, which has been improved. So Volkswagen's always putting new software updates and stuff out there. It's not bad. I still find it takes quite a while to connect your phone via Bluetooth, but you've got your wireless Apple CarPlay and Android also when you've got that set up. That's fine. And generally not too bad. And you do get a basic speed readout in front of the steering wheel, which I would far rather have over any of those cars that don't have a speed readout here. You've also got head-up display, but it is optional as part of a pack with the Harman Kardon sound system and that kind of thing. That's £1,500. I think that's probably a good one to go for because the sound system's great and the head-up display can be useful too. I absolutely hate the touch-sensitive light switches down here. That feels like a backward step rather than a good thing. The haptic buttons on the steering wheel, we've moaned about those plenty of times. They're not great. You do get used to them. I think you can probably forgive them. You know, I would rather have normal buttons, but hey, what can you do? I think it is just a familiarity thing as well. And there you go. So you've got your controller up here behind the wheel. Also, in the long wheelbase, you get the standard Buzz box here. So this centre console. This is the kind of car where you just find cubbies all the time. There's new cubbies all the time. So this is all, you know, you can put that up like that. And then you've got your cup holders in there. And then you've got your Buzz box here, which has got another cubby in here somewhere. And there you go. Put things in there. You've got phone holders. You've got, you know, rubberized things here. You've got a glove box. You've got massive door pockets. There's loads of space to, well, lose all of your personal belongings, is basically, which is what I normally do. And you've also got this Buzz box, which is a big storage thing in the middle, and is also removable, so that you can take it out like that. And I guess that, you know, if you're all camping or something, then that could be quite useful, because you then got storage thing there. And then you can put it back in. Job done. Neat and tidy. As for charging stuff, the Buzz long wheelbase gets 200 kilowatt rapid charging, which is good enough for 100 miles of charge in around 15 minutes. The Kia betters that with 250 kilowatt charging, which means the same 100 mile top up in more like 10 minutes. Both of these cars will manage 10 to 80% in about 30 minutes or less, provided the charge is fast enough, of course. Both get vehicle-to-load charging too, but you will need an adapter in the Buzz. The EV9 then. So, we know it's pretty much the most practical 7-seat electric SUV that you can buy right now, unless the Buzz can beat it, I suppose. Let's have a look at the boot. Now, these are a very similar size, these two cars, but I would add at this point, there is a difference in height. So the Buzz is 1.93 metres high, and that means you have got to be a bit careful about car parks. The Kia is a fraction lower, so it's not such a big issue, but there are quite a lot of car parks you find that have a sort of 1.9 metre height restriction, and that means that because it is a commercial vehicle, it's a van, then you do have to be a bit conscious of that with the Buzz, so that is something to consider. Anyway, the EV9, other than probably being a bit better in a multi-storey car park than the Buzz, actually a little bit better for boot space behind the third row, because you've got this space down here, which is really good because you can put your load bay cover in there. That's something that the Buzz is missing, so I really like that. And 333 litres of space, so that's not bad. Little bit of a deeper space there behind the rear seats. These do fold up and go down pretty easily, I have to say. So yeah, no complaints there. I think that's all pretty good. Still, not really anywhere to keep your cables though, so your cables are still going to hang about in the back there. Boot space in 5-seat mode in the EV9 is around 800 litres. Yes, it's not quite as deep as the Volkswagens and the seats aren't removable, but it is still a huge boot space. And because those rear seats fold electrically, it's super easy to put them up or down. Plus, you've also got a 3-pin socket to make the most of that vehicle-to-device charging. There is definitely not as much space in the back here as there is in the Buzz, but I will add, what with the electrically folding seats, 3-pin socket in the back, all of that stuff, it does just feel generally a bit more luxurious. So yes, there's not as much space, but I think because it's an SUV rather than the van kind of thing, it just feels a bit more like it's focused on a bit more kind of tech and being a bit fancy, whereas the Buzz is outright space, because there's no doubt the floor's quite high, so you've got that thing where your knees feel a bit bent. There's nowhere near as much legroom in the back here. Not as much elbow room as well. It's the width in the Buzz that's really impressive. But still, by the standards of 7-seat SUVs, this is really good. So these seats are slid forwards a bit, but I could comfortably sit in those seats in front of me in the position they're in now, and I've still got space back here. So I really can't complain. Plus, you've also got your USB-C charging, and look, vents in the back. And that's not just good for when you've got passengers. I have to say, as a dog owner, when you've got aircon in the boot, you know that you're in a really posh car. And it's really good because in the summer it means that the dogs get loads of climate back there too if you've got them in the boot. So really like the 3-zone climate control. It's comfortable. By the standards of 7-seat SUVs, this is still a bit of a benchmark. But the Buzz is better. The Kia doesn't have quite as much leg and headroom in the middle row as the long wheelbase ID Buzz, but it's still really spacious. You've got sliding and reclining seats, and there's charging ports and climate control too. So it doesn't feel quite as light and airy in here as it does in the Buzz, which has got that huge windscreen and sort of, quarter lights here and that kind of thing. But I have to say, I think the Kia has still got the better dash and the better infotainment. So you've got two 12.3-inch screens, central one here, this weird climate control screen in the middle is a bit unnecessary. Buttons, real physical actual buttons, and they're damped nicely and they do the job, and you don't need to talk at it or prod at anything. Perfect. Love it. Straightforward, simple. In fact, I think that's just the good thing about the Kia's interior. This is the Air, by the way, this test car, which is the entry-level car. So this is the cheapest Air you can buy, and it still feels really classy. You've got physical buttons on the wheel. You've even got your heated steering wheel and seats on the door. It's all just logical, isn't it? It's there. And I will say, this system that the Kia's got on the central touchscreen, that's your window to kind of everything, it is just easier to use than the Buzz is. So yeah, I have to say, it's very nice in here. I do like it a lot. Overall then, the Buzz is the more practical car here, but the Kia is definitely more luxurious, and it wins on the towing front too. You would have to go for one of the all-wheel drive EV9s, which are really quite pricey. But if you do that, then you can tow up to 2.5 tonnes, which makes it one of the best electric tow cars out there. The long wheelbase Buzz, if you go for the 4-wheel drive GTX, that can tow up to 1.8 tonnes. The rear-wheel drive models that we have here, they will manage 900 kilos in the Kia and 1200 in the Buzz. Both can be had with factory-fit tow bars, which can be really useful for rear-mounted bike carriers, as well as for actually towing stuff. So, the ID Buzz, it's really lovely to drive, as long as you're expecting it to feel big, because it is. These cars, the Kia is slightly lighter, the Buzz, 2.7 tonnes. Wow, that's heavy. Such as it is for such a big vehicle, I suppose. And you do notice it. It does feel heavy, but it also rides really well. The steering's really nice and light. I love the little slim steering wheel. You know, I like a slim steering wheel. Nice and refined. Bit of tyre noise, wind noise is a bit noticeable on the motorway. Do you know what? The thing that really characterises the Buzz is the driving position. It's the way it feels when you're in it. So you've got your armrest here, you've got armrest here, you've got a nice upright seat. I would like electric seat adjustment, and for the money I would particularly like better lumbar adjustment. So it's got a manual lumbar adjustment, but it's not great. It's the fact that you've got really upright armchair seating position, and then you've got an ocean of dashboard in front of you and this huge high curved windscreen and quarter lights, so it's so kind of light and airy. It's really lovely. If you drive a van regularly, it probably won't feel very different to you, but if you drive cars most of the time and you're coming to the Buzz from a normal SUV or family car, it's going to feel really different, and you do have to get used to it because it feels a bit odd, like you're sitting almost on the front axle and there's not much bonnet in front of you, but there is loads of dashboard. So it's just an unconventional driving position, and I like that. I think that's one of the things that really makes the Buzz feel different. it's the bus, isn't it? It's a Volkswagen bus, and it should feel like a bus, and it does, and I like it. And you sit really high up, great visibility, fantastic visibility in this car, and because it's so boxy, it's really easy to judge as well. So the fact that it is so enormous, at least it's also quite easy to drive. Yes, there is a sport mode you can access on the drive modes in the screen. Fine, that weights up the steering, and actually, I mean, the Buzz handles itself pretty well for such a big car. But do you really want to drive a Buzz quickly? Do you want to fling it around corners? No, you don't. Of course you don't. It is fast enough. 282 brake horsepower. It's got the motor on the back wheel, so it's rear-wheel drive, this car. It's based on the same platform as the ID4, a modified version of the ID4 platform. So yeah, it is quick if you want it to be, but I mean, honestly, it's just a car that you want to relax in, isn't it? That's the whole point of the Buzz. Enjoy life and take the time to look out the window and see what's going by. And I think that's what it does best. It's just a very calm, very relaxing. It's just lovely. Lovely high driving position, great view out to see the world and enjoy it. And it does that very well. I suppose if I'm looking for things to complain about, other than the fact that you are going to be aware of how heavy this car is, you do feel, you're conscious of the size and weight of it. The brake feel, I would like slightly more assisted brake feel. It actually feels you have to really put a lot of foot pressure on the brake pedal when you want to stop quickly, and even a moderate stop you have to put a surprising amount of pressure on. So that I would like to see that a bit improved, and I'd like more variable brake regen modes, because you've only got one heavier brake regen mode which you access by twisting the gear shifter behind the wheel, put it in B mode, and then you get heavier brake regen. And it's nice and smooth and predictable, and that's fine. But I do feel I prefer the Kia's setup, where you get paddles to control it and you get more variable settings, so you can choose what you like. Yes, it's big, yes, it's heavy, yes, you're conscious of that, but is it actually still easy to drive regardless? Yes. In fact, I think it's really lovely to drive, because it's just such a nice place to be and such a nice place to view the world from. Take your time. That's what the Buzz is all about. As for real world range, well, the Buzz isn't the most efficient car out there, thanks to it being roughly the shape of a brick. However, in the summer, as a best case scenario, expect to get sort of 250 to 260 miles. In the winter, that could dip to 200 miles or less on a cold motorway run. So, as with the Buzz really, the EV9, you are aware of the size of it, but it does feel more conventional car-like, and I have to say, I think this rides even better than the Buzz. The ride comfort in the EV9 is pretty remarkable, especially given that this doesn't have air suspension. It is standard dampers, and yet it feels almost like it's air sprung. And I remember this from our test that we did before with it as well, with the Volvo. But the ride on it's just pretty amazing. It's just lovely to drive. I think, you know, it's got really nice light steering, easy responses. It just seems to soak up big bumps like no problem at all. It presses the road into submission, kind of rolls over everything. It's just great, really nice. And there is a real air of luxury about the EV9, which is really impressive. I really like it. It's very light steering, just very easy, predictable, easy to point it where you want it to go, and it's got a very confident sort of stance on the road. Again, it's not a car that you particularly want to drive quickly. It's actually not that quick, it's slower than the Buzz. So the Kia Air that we've got here is 200 brake horsepower, and it's rear wheel drive, and 0 to 62 in over 9 seconds. So it's not that quick, but it feels fast enough, definitely, even for a, you know, faster motorway merge, that kind of thing. You don't feel like you're underpowered at all. If you do like the EV9 but you want a bit more performance, the dual motor version's quite a big jump in power and performance. So I think, you know, do consider that, because it's not a massive price jump up to the dual motors, so could be worth considering. I think the driving dynamics actually better in the EV9 in terms of ride comfort, steering precision and that kind of thing, but I think because of the driving position in the Buzz and because it's got that much lighter area feel to it, it's really impressive. So it's kind of what you want really. Do you want something that feels more car-like, or do you want something that's got that really kind of unique, upright, van-like driving position? Again, they feel really different. One benefit to the EV9 I would say is that you get your electric lumbar adjustment and seat adjustment, which I do prefer to the ID Buzz's manual adjustment, so there's that. But both, you've got good adjustability, pretty decent visibility in the EV9 for such a big car, but I'd say the Buzz has definitely got it on that front. In a very good way, these cars feel quite different. So you've got you know, the more car-like luxury one, and you've got the kind of van-like practical but really fun. I really like them both. I think the EV9's better to drive, but in many ways the Buzz may be better to live with. Look, I know this is going to sound like a cop-out, but this is one of the verdicts where I'm going to say, yes, they're rivals, but actually they're different enough that it's really a case of which one suits your lifestyle best. The Kia definitely feels more premium, with that longer warranty, with the towing capacity. There's all sorts of reasons that you might go for that over the Buzz. It just feels more like an SUV and more of a luxury product. But the Buzz, because it's got so much more space inside, it's got all the kind of versatility of a van-based kind of car. I just love it, and I love the styling and the kind of cheeriness of it. So ultimately, I really do think you have to look at them both and decide what you value most. Removable seats, more space, general kind of cheeriness and fun, sliding doors, lots of practicality aspects, bit more luxury, bit more kit, more range as well. So, you know, ultimately pick the one that suits you, because both of these are absolutely brilliant. Personally, I would probably actually go for the Buzz because I know they've got great PCP monthly deals, whereas the Kia is quite a lot more on monthly. So that could be a big decider for you as well. Both brilliant 7-seat electric cars, and I'm really pleased that there's such variety to choose from as well. Don't forget to head to cargurus.co.uk for a whole host of fantastic used cars, loads of great electric options, hybrids, petrol, diesel, whatever you fancy. Like the video, subscribe to the CarGurus UK YouTube channel, and turn your notifications on so that you don't miss any of our videos.